Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of Development and Management Committee. I'll just go through the preliminaries first and then we'll get on with the business. Members of the public wishing to listen and watch the meeting may attend in person in the council chamber. Live stream is offered as a discussion service, etc., etc. A recording of the public part of the meeting will be available on the council's website within 24 hours of the meeting. Members of the public are entitled to take photographs, film, audio record and report on all public meetings in accordance with the Openness of Local Government Bodies Regulation 2014. People may not, however, act in any way considered to be disruptive and may be asked to leave. Emergency evacuation procedure from the council chamber is turn left, follow the green emergency exit signs to the main town hall entrance and proceed to the assembly point at St George's Square, even if it's raining. Apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chair. Apologies received from Councillor Aliya Khan.
The minutes of the 24th of July. You okay with those? Section 106, Local Government Finance Act. Anything?
At this point, Chair.
Any disclosures of interest tonight? Either call them out now or when the item's called.
None at this point, Chair.
Urgent business, not aware of any.
No urgent business, Chair.
So we'll go straight on to the
No references.
Agenda item proper. That's agenda item 7. Do Hallow Ely Way, page 16. Naila Malik. And I know there are objectors here, and I'll call you when the time comes. But the officer will present the report first. Okay.
Good evening, members. This application is subject to a verbal update. It's noted there was an error and a typo on the committee report relating to the applicant's detail and the application number. The applicant is not LBC, but a Mr. Baig, and the application number is 2301349 FUL and not 2301394 FUL as indicated in the report. In addition, please note that further representations have been received from the adjoining residents in Ely Way, reiterating previous concerns relating to the impact of the development on the amenities of their properties and the surrounding area. The concerns raised have been considered as part of the assessment of the impact of the development as set out in the committee report. The comments received from the residents have also been summarised in the report. The site has been visited on a number of occasions, both in connection with the current scheme and the previous proposals. The application site consists of a detached property within a fairly large plot located on the northern side of Ely Way, adjacent to the new development at Laurel Close. The surrounding area comprises of a mixture of detached and semi-detached two-storey dwellings of modest scale and varied design. The proposal is seeking planning permission for the erection of a two-storey building to provide 5 flats, 4 2-bed and 1 1-bed, with associated car parking, amenity space and landscaping after the demolition of existing dwelling. Do you just want to go through the slides? So this is the site. So this is the existing property, aerial view of the existing property and its relationship with the adjoining properties. Next slide. This is the proposed ground floor layout and first floor layout. These are the proposed elevations, front, rear and side. And this is a street scene view of the development in relation to the adjoining properties. The material planning considerations are the principle of the development, the impact on the character and appearance of the surrounding area, the effect on the amenities of adjoining properties, the living environment created and parking and highway implications. In terms of the principle of the development, as set out in the report, paragraphs 15 to 19, the principle of the addition of residential development on the site is considered acceptable as it complies with the objectives of policy LLP 15 in that it provides an increased number of family dwellings on the site for which there is recognised local need and does not result in an over-intensive and cramped form of development. Whilst the proposal does result in the loss of a 3-bedroom dwelling, the replacement 2-bed 4-person units would provide residential accommodation for which there is also a recognised local need. In light of the foregoing, the principle of the residential development on the site is considered acceptable. In terms of the impact on the character and appearance of the area, the site is located on the northern side of Ely Way, which consists of mainly residential development comprising of a mixture of two-storey pitched roof detached and semi-detached dwellings of modest scale and limited space about the building. At the entrance of Ely Way, there is currently a flatted development being built. This current scheme is seeking to demolish the existing detached dwelling on the site and to replace it with a larger two-storey building, pitched roof building, to provide 5 flats with associated amenity space and parking. This scheme has been subject to a number of revisions to both the scale, layout, and design to address the impact of the development on the appearance of the street scene and the amenities of the adjoining occupiers. The revised block now has an active frontage facing Ely Way, with 2 of the flats being accessed from the front, 2 from the side, and 1 from the rear. This differs from the original scheme, which sought the main entrance in the east flank elevation of the building, similar to the existing arrangement on the site. The scale of the building has also been reduced and modified to appear from the front like a pair of dwellings, similar to the properties further along Ely Way. The design has also been modified to introduce a pair of gables at the front, detailing above the windows, again replicating the design of the neighbouring properties and ensuring that the development in terms of its appearance sits more comfortably within the context of the surrounding built form. Although the scale of the development is larger than the original building on the site, owing to the reduction in the footprint of the development and the overall plot size, the proposed building would not appear cramped and overly large within the plot. The revised scheme is not considered to harm the appearance of the surrounding area. With respect to the effect of the intensified flatted use on the area owing to the reduction from the original 9 flats proposed as part of the 2020 scheme to 5 flats proposed under the current scheme, and the fact that there is currently a flatted development being built further along down the road, means that it will be difficult to justify and sustain a reason for refusal based on this issue. Based on the foregoing, the proposed development will not have a harmful effect on the character and appearance of the surrounding area. In terms of the effect on the amenities of the adjoining occupiers, paragraph 32 to 40 of the report considers the impact of the development on the amenities of the adjoining occupiers, and in particular the properties located directly adjacent to the site in Ely Way. As set out in the report, to reduce the visual impact of the development on these properties, a number of amendments were sought to the scheme, including a reduction in the footprint, revising the siting so that the building sits further forward within the plot, amending the layout and altering the design. All of these changes, combined with the spatial distance between the site and these properties, means that the visual impact of the development is not considered to be materially harmful. In terms of overlooking, to limit any direct overlooking, the windows in the flank elevation that have the potential to overlook are to be conditioned to be obscured glazed. The current scheme, owing to its siting and layout, would have less of an impact in terms of overlooking than the existing property. With regard to additional noise and disturbance, again, given the reduction in the number of units on the site, the distance and the relationship between the site and the neighbouring properties, the impact is not considered to be materially harmful. Based on the foregoing and the report, whilst the development would have some impact on the amenities of the adjoining occupiers, the overall impact is not considered to be significant or materially harmed to warrant a reason for refusal. With respect to the living environment, as set out in paragraph 33 to 38 of the report, owing to the internal layout, the floor areas and the level of amenity provision provided, the overall living environment created for future occupiers of the proposed development would be acceptable. In relation to transport and parking implications, the revised parking layout shows 9 parking spaces for the development, which accords with the current adopted maximum parking standards, and therefore there is. Furthermore, the local highway authority have also reviewed the submitted details and have raised no objection to the scheme on parking and highway implications. Therefore, it's not considered that the development will raise any major parking or highway implications. To conclude, based on the foregoing and the committee report, the proposal is not considered to have a harmful effect on the character and appearance of the surrounding area or the amenities of the adjoining occupiers, nor does it raise any major highway and parking implications. On that basis, a conditional approval is recommended. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Nyla. Can I ask the objectors if you want to come forward? You know the rules are you've got up to 5 minutes. You share that, or you can nominate a spokesperson, or you can share the 5 minutes between the 3 of you. Okay? So the 5 minutes starts when you start.
Thank you very much. I'm Anita Waddlewan and I live at 56 Ely Way. I base the property the property faces my house directly. I wanted to say thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. I appreciate the council and the owner of the property has tried to address our concerns over the past couple of years, but I feel due diligence still has not been done in terms of addressing our concerns. I've heard what you have said about the application, but I still would like to get the council's reassurance that they have considered all the points raised in the letter that you have received from JR Planning, and you are able to give us assurance that you have addressed all their points. In addition to that, our objection statements. I want to allow time for my neighbours, Mustafa and Anne, to speak, but with regard to paragraph 36 in the application statement, I disagree completely. I do not feel that you have said that my property is not going to be adversely affected in terms of light and overlooking intrusion and in an invasion of my privacy. I certainly feel that this development will do exactly the opposite. And I am very concerned about the landscaping and how that will look following the completion of the development. I would be grateful if, and I don't know when your last visit was to the site, but I would be very grateful if someone could come out with the neighbours, with the plans, and we can look at these together. Because I do feel that some things have been overlooked here in terms of in terms of addressing the points that you have tried to address in your development statement here. I don't believe that they've all been considered and addressed appropriately. So that's all I have to say for now. I'd like to hand over to Mustafa and Anne to allow them time to speak, but thank you very much for listening.
Hi there, I'm Nisar Mustafa. I live at number 3 Laurel Close, and my garden is adjacent to the Dallow Way, basically the existing house, where currently basically there are people who living there. They're doing the scrapyard work and dismantling all the stuff over day and night. And the good news is that they're moving out. Obviously, you are trying to give planning permission. But my main concern is obviously when you are building the new flats there, where would be my privacy? I cannot sit in the garden because I got 2 kids, a wife, and obviously sitting in the garden feeling kind of freedom. But obviously when there are people overlooking from the other side, it would be very hard to feel free and enjoy your freedom. Secondly, as you know, that there is Moorland private school, and road there is very narrow and serve as one way. It's not a two-way road there. So adding another 5 flats mean 10 more cars. That's another issue. And then recently on Addington Way, the new houses that's been built, all the cars that's been parked on the side as well. So that's causing more like highway and safety issues for all the kids who are walking along. And thirdly, there are footpaths, but honestly, they've never been cleared, and it's very hard to walk along those footpaths as well. So considering all that, yes, loss of light and the other things and appearance of the properties and all these things, these are the issues there. But I would still say if the best thing to do is that somebody please visit the place and have a look why exactly the proposed application is and how it's going to affect on all the lives of the residents who are already living there. Thank you, guys.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for giving the opportunity. My name is Sindhu. I live in 54 Ely Way. the proposed property, almost 25 meters of the backside of my garden is covered by the proposed land actually. I don't have a light in my back, in my launch actually. That is the only place I live. Most of the time we spend our garden actually, because that is the only place I can get little bit light. There is no light into my launch actually, because the way my house, the way the sun comes to the land. And after the new landowner, he took the house. He never maintained the house. Our life was so horrible and miserable in that place. So I would like to request the council, please, someone come and look at it, see into our houses, how we live it. Are we safe? Luton need to be very safe actually. As a community, we need to live happily. We want affordable houses. I agree with that things. But just for the money, do we need to disturb the people's life who live happily, who look after their health, be safe? It's not only the children football grounds are at the end of near the football ground. Football ground people come for training for the children's. We got nursing home, we got new houses comes to there. We got church in the back, the Lee Grave High Street people garages in our side actually. The highway can't do anything where we go from our road to single narrow road to the main road. It takes at least sometimes 30 to 45 minutes to get out that 50, 60 yard road actually. He never maintained the trees, he never maintained the bushes. We couldn't walk through the things. If you ask me, it is a scrapyard actually, that house at the moment. As far as my knowledge, launch is converted to a house, a room, people were living. We couldn't live. COVID time, we had all parties in that house. We raised concerns, nothing happened.
Okay, can I ask you to sum up now, please?
Yeah, so I would like someone to come and look at it. Maybe 2-3 people, rather than assumptions and perception, look at the realities of the things. I humbly requesting it because it's our life. After hard work of life, mental stress, coming back, sitting, having in the garden, a cup of tea, having the privacy, having bit light. It's part of our life. It's essential.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Any questions by members? No questions. I'll ask the applicant who is online, and he may wish to answer some of the problems that you've raised. Ian Gidley.
Thank you, Chair, members of the Planning Committee. Thanks for the opportunity.
Same rules apply to you.
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Ian Gidley. I'm a planning consultant with 30 years experience. Apologies if my voice stops. I've got an unstable internet connection, so I'll try and repeat myself if that happens. The application, an example of what good planning should be about. The applicant has gone through 2 pre-apps and an in-app process in order to work with the planning officer and resolve all the planning issues. Every conceivable layout and design has been assessed. What is presented before you is considered to be the optimum layout and best design for this site. Just to address some of the objections, in terms of residential amenity, you'll see the proposed building aligns with the gable ends of 54 and 44 Eli Way. 54 has a blank gable end and a couple of outbuildings, and 44 has 2 secondary windows, with the first floor window being obscure glazed. Together with the separation distances, existing trees, and you'll see that the proposed west and east elevations have got obscure glazed windows at first floor. There can be no, so I say the separation distances exceed standards. There can be no adverse effects on loss of light, overshadowing, visual intrusion, or loss of privacy. In terms of overlooking, the proposed building does not extend further into the site than the existing dwelling. It is considered, therefore, and as the officer said, there will in fact be an improvement to residential amenity, as the existing dwelling has clear windows that overlook the neighbouring properties, whereas the windows in the same position at first floor in the proposed building will be obscure glazed to protect residential amenity. Parking and traffic, always hot political issues, and the officer is strongly advised on the 9 spaces proposed. These accord with the maximum permitted standards under local planning policies. whilst it is considered there is technical justification for less parking spaces, I recognise the lack of on-street parking available and have witnessed the situation myself on the school run to King's House School, so agree with the advice of the planning officer. As evidenced by the last census data for the adjacent flats, a third of households in flats typically do not own a car, so there is definitely sufficient spaces being provided. In respect to traffic, in the context of the traffic generated by the existing dwelling, which has been mentioned, all the houses off Ely Way, the school and Luton Town Football Club training ground, the resultant traffic impact can only be described as negligible. And along with all the objections that I've just gone through, are ones that could not possibly be sustained at appeal. The highway officer has not objected and is the foremost expert in highway safety and traffic matters. Finally, focusing on the positives, the proposed design has the appearance of a pair of semi-detached dwellings with attention to every architectural detail of local vernacular and, as evidenced by the street scene, will fit in perfectly with the character of Ely Way. I personally consider that the existing house is a bit of an anomaly, the last piece of the jigsaw, and therefore consider the street scene will be significantly enhanced. The provision of 1 and 2 bedroom units will also help meet an identified local need that should weigh heavily in favour of the proposals. Can I just take this opportunity to commend the council on the INEP process, which is worthy of an award in my opinion. It is something I've suggested other councils adopt. It has been invaluable to ensure that a development that is acceptable in principle can be amended so that the design is the best that can be achieved, which I believe is the case here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Any questions by members? Yeah, Councillor Ambler.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. On point 17, you mentioned there's the existing 3-bed dwelling, which is
it the applicant or the officer?
the applicant. Yeah, applicant. Yeah,
The applicant. Okay.
applicant. Yeah, thank you.
Carry on, please.
Yes. So point number 17, you mentioned there was demolition of 3-bed house, and which you already mentioned, which is like this is recognized local needs. So can you clarify on your on the new proposal, why not able to make any 3 beds dwelling and just make it 1 and 2 beds? Thank you.
Yeah, I think in short, it's a question of viability. When you're demolishing a dwelling, you're losing that value of that dwelling, and therefore, in order to make a viable development, you have to supply sufficient units. And we've listened to the officer with the constraints, and in terms of how far she considers it's acceptable to go into the site, and that's produced, as I said in my talk, the optimum design scheme for the site. It's just not possible to get the 3-bedroom units in there and make it viable. What we do consider is that the 5 units proposed do also meet a local need, which is in excess of the one existing dwelling that's there. So overall, there's a significant benefit.
Yeah, just 3, thank you, Chair. First of all, the applicant is listed as Luton Borough Council. Is that correct? And if that it's listed, no, I was here at the start. It's a mistake. Thank you. I'm just wondering why, if it's the council, there would no affordable housing, but there you go. Okay, 2 more questions then. First of all, should we have 2 further conditions? One, asking for a management plan for the car park, given the parking problems in the area generally. And the second one is and perhaps a condition concerning protecting the existing trees during construction and perhaps afterwards.
It sounds quite reasonable to me.
Safeguarding condition.
No, that's my three. Thank you.
Include those
Sorry?
part of the recommendation. Just on.
Yeah, I think that'll be included. The suggestions that you made be included.
The car park and the tree.
Yeah. Yeah, no, let's just make a note of it now. Francis Steer.
I wonder if we could defer for a site visit, because all three objectors have basically asked for a site visit. But I'm proposing a site visit.
Yeah, we vote on it. It's been suggested that we defer for a site visit
Reasons.
for the reasons. Well, the site visit.
Yeah. Right. So shall I come in?
Yeah.
Yep. Evening, members. Just to introduce myself, I'm the planning solicitor for this meeting. There's a site visit protocol, and the way it works is, if you want to propose a site visit, that's fine. Has to be seconded. That's been done. If you could just emphasise the reasons you think a site visit is required, for then the members, including yourselves, to then deliberate and then vote in the usual manner. And if the vote goes through, i.e. more for than against, then it will be deferred for a site visit. If not, then that motion will be lost, and then obviously other motions can be put forward. Thank you, Chairman.
Yeah, Francis.
So, as I briefly mentioned earlier, all three of the objectors have basically asked for a site visit. Obviously, our planning officers know the site very well and have been in negotiations since 2020 with the applicant. But I feel that we need to be seen to be fair to the objectors, who all live very close to this site, and to actually go and see it ourselves. So I propose that we have a site visit.
Okay, and that's been seconded, so we'll vote on that. We need a show of hands, I'd say.
Because people.
Oh yeah, online, yeah. Okay, so we'll vote now.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Councillor Ajisola.
Oh, can I you just voting now?
Voting for a site visit.
I'll vote for, yeah.
Councillor Ambia.
Yes.
Councillor Bridgen.
I'll abstain on that.
Councillor Farouk. Councillor Franks. Councillor Hanif.
For.
Councillor Mead.
For.
Councillor Raja.
For.
Councillor Steer. For. And Councillor Taylor.
Abstain on that. So that's carried. So it deferred for a site visit.
Yep.
Chair. I was a bit remiss earlier in not declaring my interest as a season ticket holder at Luton Town Football Club, and hence I probably have a prejudicial interest and shouldn't take part in the next part.
Getting value from your season ticket this season? No. I asked for a refund, okay. Okay, there we go on to, well, when you've left, I'll call out the item. That's to the side of Barnfield Academy, South Cutno Road. David Hall, when he leaves eventually. To the objectors and the applicant, we've decided to defer the application so members can visit the site as you requested. Okay, and then it'll come back to the next meeting after that. We've done the visit, and then we'll determine it. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. I thought you got the gist. you can speak to the officers, but you're not allowed to speak to members. Okay, so the officers will be present, so you can speak to them, but members will look at the site at their own pace.
Communication, will they use email addresses? So that we're finding the postal service is very slow in terms of communication coming through to us.
I guess that somebody can email you, tell you the date and time.
The time. And
Yeah,
we can.
the date and time, yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
okay.
Hope you will visit our houses also, because going into that land doesn't help us.
Yeah.
We need to visit our houses, whether we get light.
Yeah,
whether we have lights.
okay,
Thank you.
okay.
Thank you.
It will be a reasonable time of the day as well. Probably
you so
during the day.
As long as we've got enough notice.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as we've got enough notice, we want to help, obviously.
Okay.
We want this
Yeah.
to be satisfactory to everyone. So thank you
Okay.
so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, members. This application has been brought to committee because the council's standing orders have as a requirement that an application for permanent development where it relates to land owned by the council, which is recommended for approval and which is subject to a written objection from a member of the public, cannot be determined under the head of planning's delegated powers. Before I start the presentation, I would draw members' attention to an update sheet which provides a minor alteration to the wording of condition 10. It doesn't actually affect the substance of the condition. If I could have slide 1, please. The application site is located in the southeast corner of the Avenue Centre for Education's playing fields, with a footpath on the playing field's northern boundary. As an existing playing field area, the site is generally flat. In the wide area around the site are residential properties in Cutenho Road and Park Street. If I could have slide 2, please. This gives an aerial representation of the site and its location relative to Park Street, Cutenho Road, and also to Airport Parkway. If I could have slide 3, please. The application seeks full planning permission, firstly, for the erection of a new welfare facility, vehicle access, vehicle parking, and secondly, a proposal to upgrade an existing informal pathway. The proposals will provide important player welfare facilities which were previously incorporated in the dome structure, which was the subject of an application in 2020, but are now to be provided separately in the accommodation the subject of this application. Vehicular access will be provided from Park Street to the northeast, and parking facilities will be provided for staff and vehicles transporting academy players to and from the site. Key in the consideration of this application is its designation within the public safety zone in the Luton Local Plan Proposals Map 2011 to 2031. Accordingly, policy LLP 34 applies, which sets out the type of development that should be resisted in these areas. If I could have slide 3, please. Slide 3 indicates the PSZ as designated in 2017 and was current when the last application was considered and determined in 2020. In 2021, the PSZ, which is comprised of a public safety restricted zone and a public safety control zone, on notification of London Luton Airport, was reduced. If I could have the next slide, please. This indicates the proposals map extent of 2017 and the first one, and this now indicates the amended area. It's significantly reduced. So the wider area is the one referred to as the longer cone, and the darker areas, the lighter brown and the grey. So the lighter brown is the control zone, the grey is the restricted zone. If this is applied to the application site, it can be seen that only a part of the parking and circulation area is situated within the PSCZ. If I could have the next slide, please. Thank you. And if I could have the next slide, sorry, back. Previous one, please. Thank you. As set out in the report in paragraph 35, given these facts, as a matter of planning judgment, it is suggested that to refuse planning permission for the welfare facility on the basis of policy LLP 34 would be disproportionate given the size of the existing PSZ. You can see it's only the parking areas and the which is covered by the PSCZ. I mean, the reality is, if there was a plane to come down, it wouldn't be purely within the PSCZ and it would affect the wider area. But nevertheless, that's what the policy says. Turning now to the matter of detail. As can be seen from slide 6, the welfare block is comprised of two parallel rows of what are in effect containers. If we could have the next slide, please. The welfare accommodation comprises 8 blocks cited in parallel. In the report, paragraph 39, there are 2 unidentified blocks. The applicant has clarified that these will be used as waiting rooms for parents and carers. If I could have the next slide, please. The blocks described in paragraph 39 propose the following layouts. So that is for a changing facility for the players attending the facility. Have the next slide, please. That is a slide which shows female changing rooms and first aid facility. And the next slide, please. And that is for a groundsman store and also a further storage building. If I can have the next slide, please. So the containers will be clad in a timber type arrangement or similar, the details of which will be the subject of a condition. The proposed development comprises an access from Park Street, includes a hard surfaced area to be used for access and manoeuvring, coach parking and car parking. The matter of the impact of the development is addressed in the report, and it is considered that there is no material impact on the character for the reasons set out in the report, namely that it is some considerable distance from the properties in Cutenho Road, and the land does slope slightly at that western boundary. In terms of the benefit to the community, the detachment of the changing facility from the dome will mean that there will be less limitation on its use with the presence of the changing facility in the new block. Previously, the original dome application had a changing facility, which would have meant that there would have been potential conflict of use of that particular facility. The applicant has also indicated that a number of the smaller pitches within the general layout have been made available for community use, and I understand that their use has already taken place. Turning now to the second part of the application. A pathway is proposed to run to the north of the sports pitches, connecting the existing pedestrian gate on Park Street to the school building. As set out in the report, this route is already utilised, but will be formalised through the creation of a pathway. The applicant has added this development to the proposal for the welfare facility to improve an existing informal arrangement, which will run to the north of the pitches, connecting the pedestrian gate of Park Street to the school buildings. The footpath will only be used to provide access to the Cutenho Community Learning Centre and is not a general right-of-way. Given the mature screening and the length of the gardens in Cutenho Road, it is not considered that the formalising of the path will have any material impact on the amenities currently enjoyed by the residents of Cutenho Road, given its limitation in use. As set out in the report, the existing boundary landscape is mature and well established and provides a strong landscape corridor that lies on the boundary of the existing playing fields. Accordingly, there would be no material impact on the adjoining existing development. As far as the access is concerned, the highway officer has been consulted and has advised that subject to the approval of design, there is no objection. In terms of other matters, insofar as biodiversity net gain is concerned, since the application was submitted prior to the 2nd of April 2024 and is not a major development, it is exempt. A number of matters have been raised by third-party representations. In particular, you will see attached to the report a representation from one of the local residents, which is transposed in full for your information and consideration. The general matters of third-party reps are covered fully in the report. In conclusion, the development proposal would be acceptable as far as the matter of principle of development. It would have no material impact on the character and appearance of the area, nor would there be any impact on neighbouring amenity. There are no access objections. More specifically, the proposed development falls to be considered against policy LLP 34 in the matter of the suitability of development in the context of that part of the site situated in the PSCZ, and to which I referred to earlier in my presentation. The proposals will comprise a development within an area of open space, which is limited by policy LLP 27. However, the policy supports development on open space where it is ancillary, complementary and limited in scale, securing the efficient and effective use of existing green space. The upgrade of the footpath has been offered as one of a number of community benefits. Therefore, the proposal would be in accordance with policies of the local plan, and the application is therefore recommended for approval.
Yeah, thanks, David. We've got Sean McGrath at the back there, and we've got the David Brady, objector. Can you hear me? No? Online? David Brady. Not there? He's there, is he? Can you see him now? I can't see him from here. Can you turn your microphone on, please? And say yes. Can't see anything at all. Yeah.
David Brady, can you put your microphone on, please?
Do you want to let Sean go first? No, that's not the usual way.
Well, certainly wait. Sean, I'll let you go first then, which is the opposite, but rather than wait and do nothing for the applicant, that gives him time to log on. Okay, Sean, you've got up to 5 minutes and members may wish to ask questions.
Thank you, Chair, Councillors. My name is Sean McGrath from WSP. I'm the agent for the application made on behalf of the football club for welfare facilities for their academy players. This application is part of a wider investment that the club are making to upgrade their training facilities at Coudinot Road and the Brache. These improvements at Coudinot Road include providing a new air dome for the academy players, which also has community use, which will be subject to a community use agreement. There are also 3 pitches for the school, one of which is all weather, and 2 grass pitches for the academy. The development is for 2 modular buildings, as you heard, providing changing and ancillary space for the academy. There are 25 car parking spaces, coach parking, and a new access off Park Street. These facilities will allow the academy players to change close to where they are playing rather than walking across from the Brache. A new footpath will be provided behind the houses on Coudinot Road. This will run from Park Street up to the school. This will only be open to the schools using the playing fields. There is an existing gate there that the PE teachers have the key for. PE teachers let the children come through to use the facilities. The footpath simply formalises an arrangement that is already in place. The footpath will not be open outside school hours, it will not be open to the public, and it will not be open outside term times. As you heard, there is a sliver of the car park, but not the buildings, which is in the airport public safety control zone. As Mr. Hall explained and is set out in the committee report, the site is currently in sports use and the parking will only be used by the club and its academy, providing an alternative to the Brace. Since it is not public parking and given the limited incursion into the safety zone, it is agreed that the development will not result in an intensification of a use within the safety zone. The development is on public open space. Local plan policy LLP 27 supports development which secures the efficient and effective use of public open space. So the proposals comply with planning policy. As you heard, the highways team have looked at the access and the parking and have no concerns, subject to a section 278 agreement being signed. The proposed facilities will allow the club to enhance its academy and its academy programme. It will benefit their young players, many of whom are local children who live in Luton. The proposals have been thoroughly assessed by officers. They support the proposals. I do hope you will also support them tonight. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Any questions by members to the applicant? Can I start? There was mention at the last application that we had this evening of Ely Way and the use by the football club. Does that mean that the use would cease at Ely Way if this was granted permission?
Sorry, Ched, can you say that again?
The Ely Way was mentioned earlier this evening on the previous application of being used by the football club. Would you cease to use that if you got permission tonight for Cutenhoe Road? Or is that something that
not that I'm aware of? I've not heard that.
Yeah, it used to be part of a training pitch for Luton Town Football Club.
I don't think. I think they want to concentrate facilities at Cutenhoe Road and the Brace because of the synergy. I mean, that's why this development moving across the road effectively, so it creates more space at the Brace because the academy will not be using the Brace anymore.
Dundee.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So following up on your question by the chairman, so you say you are not aware that Luton Town still make use of the training ground at Ellie's Way?
I'm not aware of any plans to do that at all.
No. Ellie's Way used to be the old training ground for the senior team. And at the moment, they still make use of it for some community football coaching needed for underage children. If permitted, if this permission goes through, what the chair is saying is there any plan to stop using Ellie's Way for anything Luton Town football training?
At Cutenhoe Road, the pitches, the two pitches at the bottom of the site will be for the academy, but that's why they've provided 3 pitches effectively for the school. So there's 2 smaller pitches and an all-weather pitch that are open to this, well, just for school use. So the school can allow those to be used by the local community, and the dome is also, there will be a community use agreement for that as well.
I think, Sean, if you're not aware that Luton Town Football Club are using Ely Way, you can't really answer the question. We'll find out on another day. David?
I'm a bit puzzled here because I'm finding it difficult to understand whether or not the football club is going to continue to use Ely Way can have any impact on our decision on this particular application. I don't see the connection at all.
Any further questions to the applicant? Councillor Francis Steer.
Have we got the objector, do we know? And could we reserve the right to re-question the applicant, having listened to the objector? Thank you.
We have made contact, yeah.
Yeah, I've messaged Mr. Brady via the Teams chat and also personally from myself on a separate Teams chat, but I haven't heard anything back from him. So if you, David, if you can hear me, can you message me your phone number so we can get in contact with you?
That's all we can do. Any further questions to the applicant? Okay.
To the planning officer.
Sorry? I'm going to look for the objector now. Can we make contact? There's nothing. No, we can't keep on waiting then. Okay, questions to the planning officer. Thanks, Sean. David.
Really, this just relates to the objector or the absence of the objector here. We've read the report. Can the planning officer add anything at all to help clarify what the reasons for the absent objector are, please?
David, are you aware of?
I have a copy of the what we have. I mean, essentially, it was lodged online. There were comments. Customer made comments neither objecting to or supporting the planning application. Comment reasons: design and visual intrusion. But a specific comment that he's made is, what impact on the gardens of the houses in Cutenhoe Road that back onto the site will the proposed pathway have? I have asked this question already and emailed planning without response. I sought to address the points that were raised by the objector in the report and also in my presentation. And I think also Sean has addressed the point as well in terms of confirmed the limitation on use. But that, I'm afraid, is all that that I have in terms of the extract that I took off the council system.
Yeah, I think also adding to that the footpath would not be open to the public, would it? And it would.
That's
only be
correct.
certain
It's limited
times
in
of
use.
the day. So it would not be a public footpath
No.
in the true sense of the word.
No.
It would be a footpath which would have open and closing times.
Will it be purely for the use of the school activity, and I think also for pupils to get onto the football pitches, but it will be limited to school hours. Obviously, during school holidays, it won't be as operational, perhaps as outside. As outside of school holidays, it'll be less used. So, I mean, in terms of its use, and the fact is also that as I understand it, this has been agreed with the council because it is an informal arrangement, and it's sought to make it safer and more appropriate for use.
Yeah, just to be absolutely clear, I mean, the footpath is there. It's already being used. If we could just have some indication of how much the use of it is likely to increase, I think that might be helpful.
Well, as I understand it, it's informally used is the way it's described. So therefore, it's a track, and on aerial photographs, you can see the, shall we say, the way the footpath winds up. I mean, it's very difficult to anticipate the increase in use. I would have thought it would be much about the same, but I can't say for definite. I don't have any figures. I think the limitation on use in terms of who it would serve, I think, is indicative of the level of use that you're likely to get on it.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Okay. Councillor Mead, question?
Yes. Is this purely for training purposes, or will there be competitive matches also played on these pitches?
Well, as far as I'm aware, and as Sean has referred, there are some of the pitches which will not be used by the academy. They are available for the use for local children. As the way that the application is phrased is that it's a training facility rather than a match day situation per se, but it's possible that there may be matches, I suppose.
My understanding, I think they do play matches at the Brace, don't they? They had some pre-season friendlies at the Brace.
At the Brace, I think so, but I don't think the intention is necessarily for this area. But in any event, I mean, it's a playing field facility which when the school, they would have had competitive matches on it. So in terms of the use of it, it's not going to change significantly.
My concern is that we're going to start having sort of Sunday morning adult games on the pitches. Is that liable, or is it only going to be for young people's school children?
Well, the pitches as submitted are purely for the academy, the under sixes up to the under 23s, I think it is. So in that respect, I suppose an under 23 is an adult. But insofar as the overall use is concerned, as I said, I understand that it's a training pitch. I don't know whether perhaps Sean is able to answer the question as to what the, shall we say, wider intentions are.
So I think it is training facilities. I think that's what the plan is. So I don't think there'll be competitive games there. I think they would, if they were going to play competitive games, I think they would play at the Brace.
Yeah, once again, I think this is a side cul-de-sac, isn't it? The football pitches are there, and as I understand it, they are not part of this application.
Yeah, I have to agree with Councillor Franks on that point.
Abatunde.
Thank you, Chair. My only concern on this, which is reading through the reports, we've come to the public safety zone, public safety restricted zone, public safety controlled zone. If you can assure this committee or tell us it's what you build plan for this particular place, it's gonna be safe, and it's not in any way contravening any of the guidelines for the safety areas.
Well, the matter of the public safety zone, as it was described in the local plan, is a much wider area, and there are limitations both in policy and also as far as the Civil Aviation Authority is concerned. As I said in my presentation, it's a somewhat theoretical exercise because if an aircraft was unfortunate enough to come down, shall we say, in the public, the PSCZ as it stands, it's immaterial as to whether or not the welfare block is inside it or outside it, because it'll all be flattened. But if one's applying policy to this, the policy is quite specific. In a control zone, the PSCZ, in the control zone, it's designed to limit the amount of people who are permanently there. So as a matter of planning judgment, an assessment has to be made as to whether or not it would be appropriate to refuse this application on the basis of the small area that is within the PSCZ and that area that is without the PSCZ. So in that respect, recommendation is, as a matter of planning judgment, it would be inappropriate to penalise the rest of the development, which isn't in the PSCZ, when you compare it to that area which is within the PSCZ.
Just want to confirm, the objector, he's not actually objecting, is he?
Well, the response that I have, which is taken off our system, that's the narrative that I have. Reference is made to design and visual intrusion. Let's say that there was an objection in that respect. The individual lives in Cutenho Road, so the actual footpath, which I have addressed, but dealing with the welfare facility is quite some distance away. If you perhaps can get the original site location plan out. So if you look, and so Cutenho Road is about 100 was about 100 plus meters away. So the impact, given also the fact that the buildings are very low profile, they're a maximum of, I think, 2.8 meters in height, and they're flat roofed. The visual impact at that distance with a perspective would be minimal. As far as the design is concerned, so I have addressed that, but I would just restate that they're utilitarian in terms of what they are and what they offer. They're not permanent structures. We put on a condition, which was the condition I referred to at the outset, which basically, if after 6 months the site isn't used, then within 6 months, everything has to be removed and it has to be reinstated to its current grass use. So we are safeguarding it. So, but getting back to, in terms of the design and visual intrusion, I don't think there's any grounds to be made that would have any impact on Cutenho Road when you look at the distance. The design, as I said, is utilitarian. So those were the first 2 points that were raised in the response, and then the impact of the footpath on the gardens was the other response to which I've referred. Yeah.
Okay. Any further questions? Francis Dear.
There are no future planning implications, are there, if this application, as it were, eats into the PSCZ?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Well, I'm kind of saying if we get this permission and part of it, and I agree it's just the car park part, eats into the PSCZ, are there any future implications for plans that also might be in the zone?
Well, I can only report on the application as submitted. The council own the land. I don't know what the terms of the agreement that there is with the council in terms of how long that lease is and what those arrangements are. And I presume that as the council have entered into the lease, that as far as the future use of the site is concerned, it's future proofed only to the extent that what we have retained control over, as I said, is to do with the reinstatement of the land.
No, sorry, I'm talking about the planning application eating into the safety zone.
Oh.
And does that have any future implications for any other application the authority receives that also eats into the safety zone?
Sorry, I beg your pardon.
That's all right.
As far as the PSCZ is concerned, I mean, it's altered. The area is much reduced. Whether it reduces further is I don't know. It's all the way they assess it has varied and changed, and it's now based on risk rather than something more something wider in terms of land take. But if an application comes in and it's in the PSCZ, then we'll have to look at it on its merits and to determine whether or not it's contrary to the policy LLP 34.
We would so we would just any future application that also eats into the zone, it gets looked on.
It would be determined on its merits.
Yeah.
Given because there's no,
and this has no implication for any future application. Yeah.
Well, it would have to be determined on its merit based on material considerations at that time.
Yep. Thank you.
Sonny, you're on.
Yeah. Good evening, members, chair, everyone. On this particular question, councillor, in terms of how the public safety zone is calculated, it's the Civil Aviation Authority that makes that assessment, and it's quite a complex calculation based on each individual airport. And what they take into account is things like the fleet mix, so the types of aircraft that are actually used, and each of those aircrafts comes with its own risk. And so they predict the public safety zone on the basis of that. And as we found out in the last few years, the public safety zone can change according to the risk. So it does, making a decision on this application doesn't preclude or impact on future applications being assessed. We will always defer to the Civil Aviation Authorities to give us their expert advice, expert and technical advice. Yes, it is a planning judgment as well.
Yeah, that was my question and answer. Thank you.
You got there in the end. Excuse me. Any further questions? Then I'll go on. Any comments? Can you still hear me? Well, I think we're nearly there. We're nearly there. Any comments? So the recommendation is approval, subject to the conditions. So I'll move approval. Is that seconded? We'll go to the vote.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Ajisola.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Ambia.
For.
Councillor Bridgen. Oh, sorry, he's not absent. Yep, sorry. Councillor Farouk. Councillor Franks.
For.
Councillor Haniff.
For.
Councillor Mead.
For.
Councillor Raja.
For.
Councillor Steer.
For.
And Councillor Taylor.
For.
Thank you, Chair.
So that's carried. So we got there just in time before the noise the noise disturbs us. Okay, I think that's the extent of the business tonight. Don't forget there's an additional application planning development management meeting that's scheduled for December. It's hopefully to deal with the football stadium. As you're aware, that was submitted a couple of weeks ago, and so hopefully we'll determine it. I think it's been validated.
Yes,
it's been validated, so it's out public consultation and statutory. So hopefully we can either use the scheduled meeting in December to determine this application on its own, just to one item, or failing that, then we've got an additional day for a meeting just to deal with the stadium application on its own. Okay. Is it practical? Because every time I've looked down there, there's bulldozers and dump trucks all over the place. You need more than wellies, I think. You need a suit of armour. Yeah, it's probably you probably get a better view outside rather than inside. Okay.